What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and in this week we got a hot 5 KDP new releases. It's the first of the year 2021, so I'm super fired up, and I hope you're fired up too. And I've got a couple stunners on this week's actual countdown, so I'm pumped to show you guys exactly what I found this time around. So let's go ahead and get ready and do this. All right, so we're gonna get the show right on the road, and I am, as usual, in the Amazon Hot New Releases category. I'm gonna jump into books, and as usual, children's books. And this time, we're not gonna screw around. We're gonna jump right into activities, crafts, and games, which is always a pleasure to jump into. Now let's see what we see once again. And this is about the second or third time that I've seen the Supergirl mindset thing. So again, goes to show like empowering kids. Last time we talked about empowering little boys. Now this time we see empowering little girls. I won't be surprised if I see more like that on this countdown. Now I do think that this cover is extremely interesting. It's almost too serious. Even the title. Like we talked last week about making books for smart kids. This is kind of similar to that. Obviously a dumb kid is never gonna look at this, and I like the fact that many of you guys and girls out there were like, what about books for dumb kids? I would like to buy one. You know, the problem with that is I don't think parents would like to admit that their kid is dumb. Therefore, I don't think parents are gonna buy it, but I think it is a great gag gift. But really, think about it. Who are you gonna give it to? And at the end of the day, you're just gonna be insulting them by giving them a book for dumb kids. But this one right here is clearly for kids on a whole different stratosphere of intelligence, doctrine, and covenants 2021, a junior primary workbook for older kids. I don't even understand that. I don't know who out there understands that and can explain it to me in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it, but I can get batched into that group of dumb kids. So this is pretty much fire right now. It's $5.70. It's $3,100 in books, and I've seen a couple of these. It's not just this red plain Jane one with the most ugly cover you could ever possibly imagine. Let's keep going because it just upsets me. It breaks every single rule that we've laid out in this weekly KDP roundup, and I'm just stunned. That's all I can say, just absolutely stunned. So I don't see many here. I see some more Among Us ones, and I have noticed that the amount of Among Us books have dwindled down, so obviously some people are getting kicked for creating those, and will probably continue to get kicked for creating those. Among Us, again, here's another one, comic dub stories. I don't even understand that, but I'm sure someone out there can explain that to me. Here we are with number one. Finally, we will call this one out. Here it is. Valentine's Day is here. We're about 45 days from Valentine's Day, but the books are already selling hot. If you notice, as I jumped into this category, we were in the children's books, and the overall number one book was Little Blue Truck Valentine's Day. We've talked about Little Blue Truck in previous episodes, and as usual, Little Blue Truck is now at the top of the charts. So it goes to show that branding and creating your very own character is a very important principle of creating a really big book, because as you create more and more books with that character, if he becomes famous, so do you. So that's the lesson of the day. But Valentine's Day books are fire. We've talked about them. We've even done a February ideas video. We did 2 of them because I screwed up on them. So there's plenty of ideas rolling around. You guys just got to get those out there and start marketing them, because it might be a little too late. That's why we will jump into March very, very soon. So let's keep rolling, see what else we actually find here. Here's Among Us again. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe Among Us is still in full force. Now, here's another really interesting one. You're My Little Firecracker. I guess that one would be popular because we just had New Year's Eve, and people do light firecrackers on New Year's Eve. So that is, and perfectly makes sense. And it says Children's Independence Day book. So again, it's listed as Independence Day. Immediately I thought of 4th of July, but I did forget that people do light fireworks on New Year's Eve. Here's another Valentine's Day book. So that's again going to show that Valentine's is in the air, and you should be making those books and getting them out there immediately. So let's go into the second 50. I really haven't seen much other than unicorns as usual. Valentine's Day book obviously are doing extremely well. Dragons, not a surprise. Bible stories. Here's another Valentine's Day book. Now here's a great combo thing. Not only did they combine unicorns and fairies and princesses, they did all 3 in one book so that people will buy. It seems to be working. This one has 0 reviews, but it's still 86,000 in books. So again, I like that. We'll go ahead and call that out. It's a combination of several popular characters. I have seen a catacorn and things like that, so it's very similar to what this is. And again, combining several different popular things, like I believe in the past I've seen sloths mixed with llamas, mixed with something else. So combination characters work extremely well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see another one here coming up at some point. on this countdown. Here again was the brain games from last time, and one called Cardboard Kingdom, which is pretty much a play on dragons and kingdoms and things of that nature. And here's Escape from Something video game, which kind of reminds me of escape rooms. But here we go, Chick a Piglet. This is the combination thing that I was talking about. Here's a second one that we see. So obviously combining popular things that people love and creating one character out of it and cleverly naming them like Chick a Piglet. Sounds like Chick-fil-A mixed with some kind of hot dog franchise, right? Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Here's riddles for smart kids. So it looks like somebody saw the last video we did and talking about riddles for smart kids and things for smart kids. But I did mention that a book for dumb kids would be very fascinating. A couple people liked that idea. I liked it too. I just don't think parents will like it. I said that earlier. I'll keep saying it again. Busy Bear the Airplane Pilot. Not much else that I can see cranking out here. Here's another interesting book where he talked about the fine line between breaking trademark infringement and possibly getting sued at some point. We've seen a Jason Momoa book, we've seen a Harry Styles book, and now we see a Schitt's Creek coloring book. And yes, I'm not making that up, people. That's not a joke, even though I've told no jokes on this, so I know a lot of people will be upset. I'm just not in a very jokey mood. But the Schitt's Creek coloring book, well, how difficult could that be? Coming up with that name when that's already what the show's called. And that's in number 96. But again, going back to this is a fine line between breaking trademark with Among Us and all the other books that we've talked about. What else can we find here? We got a Pokemon one, and that's pretty much it. So let's go into another category. We only have about 2. So let's just jump into crafts and hobbies this time, see what else we find. Here again is the Valentine's Day book, which is number 1, another Valentine's Day book. The bees, which we talked about in the last episode. Here's another great one. I think this is fantastic. I know that I've seen another one. It might not be on this chart, but I've seen it looking before, so it's number 3. It is creating a book that talks about cars. In general, here they talk about muscle cars, but there's still a lot of other types of cars that you could actually focus on. There's fast cars, there's street cars, there's all sorts of them that you could really brainstorm and think about and create something like that for kids. But that muscle cars one is pretty great. How to draw, science, puzzles, and all sorts of other things that are popping up here. Here's again another bug book, which we talked about last week. Bugs are fire, and I'm seeing bugs all over the place. And as usual, unicorns. What can we say about unicorns? I mentioned this last time. Slap a unicorn on anything. He could be farting, he could be peeing, he could be taking a dump, he could be doing absolutely anything, or she can, and it will sell. So all 3 of those are fantastic ideas to do. Here's another car coloring book. It just does happen to be the movie Cars, but still it goes to show that cars are pretty hot, as well as trains. Trains are kind of like cars, like they get you around to different places. So anything that's moving you around to different places seems to be doing quite well. We've seen wrecking trucks and construction vehicles and all sorts of different things that people or kids like to color. Here again is another logic game for clever kids, and we talked about how that does extremely well. And again, I'm going to go back to dumb kids. I'm going to keep beating that like crazy because I just kind of like the idea of the dumb kid book, the ultimate dumb kid book. Now this is an instance where they stick this book in a category where it really doesn't belong, and then it seems to sell pretty good. I can't imagine why this doesn't. It says, sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about Jamila Jamil. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe somebody could clarify that for me below, but I have no idea. Perhaps they just decided to put a name on the cover of a book and see how well it does, but I'm completely lost. And again, here's another one that says, I was thinking about Florence Pugh. I think that's an actress. And if I'm completely wrong, then that just goes to show you how much I pay attention to what's going on in the world. Here we have a supercar coloring book. So I imagine this, and here is one right here. It's a supercar coloring book, and that seems to be doing pretty well. So we talked about cars already. And this one right here, we talked about coloring books for kids dealing with food because we've seen a lot of cookbooks. Here it is again, Yummy Coloring Book for Kids, which is on this actual countdown. All right, so let's go and look at another category and see what else we can actually find. And we are just gonna jump into the wide niche net of children's books to see what else pops up. Now here's the Blue Truck Valentine's Day thing, and it's selling extremely well. It's doing really well. A lot of these books that are on this countdown at the front are gonna be really branded, and they're gonna revolve around characters. Here's Sammy the bird, which I mentioned that if Sammy the bird kept being a Debbie Downer, I would slap the red right off of him. So a lot of people actually enjoyed that, and I did mean it, but we do see Sammy the bird everywhere. There's also a bunch of different books that I've seen that kind of are like for teens, where you can't date your best friend. So that's kind of interesting, but Valentine's Day is rolling around, so pretty much anything that involves love is going to be at the top of the charts. Here we've got the Smart Kid book again, or the Too Smart for Their Own Good Smart Kid book. But this could also be the Nerd's Handbook. Like, you could also make a Nerd's Handbook, and I'm sure a lot of parents would possibly buy the Nerd's Handbook, and maybe people would give it as gag gifts to their dumb kids. I don't know. It sounds pretty interesting. Now, here's one that I like for sure. We've talked about farting animals. In this case, it's Fairy the Farting Unicorn. But as one user cleverly mentioned on another video, they put in the comments that while they do enjoy the farting animal, the urinating animal fascinates them more. So why not bring out a brand of urinating animals of some sorts? Not just that, but what about just the animal that just squats right down and lets out a turd? So you can also do that kind of animal, and there's just so many different ways that you can wing this. And in this case, the unicorn winged the farting unicorn. So use your imagination and think of an animal that can either fart, urinate, or take a dump. And pretty much, if you think about that, that's every animal that's on the planet. So just think of what animals are hot, create a book out of that, and pick any one of the three, and you've got yourself a book on hand. So we talked about investing for kids right here, and there's not much else going on. We got Black History Month, it looks like. Here's Blue Truck again. Blue Truck. Here's another ambitious girl one. So let's talk about that. We've seen a couple already talking about girls being portrayed as being super and empowering them, but any type of ambitious girl book is fantastic because, again, it's empowering kids. You can also empower boys, you can empower girls. And it's a fantastic way to create a book entirely revolving around them. You could even do a ambitious girl smart book, as we talked about covenants and whatever the hell that was, which now that I think of it, sounds like a witch book, but perhaps it's a spell book and we don't even actually know it. So let's keep going. This is Gina, Hi-Lo Gina Who Broke the World. Again, it reminds me of empowering girls, so I think it's pretty good. Here's a My Butt Is So Noisy, and that goes back to the farting unicorns. Now this time it's a girl farting. It's not even a little boy, it's not even an animal, it's just a girl farting. So again, anything that farts, anything that urinates, or anything that takes a dump, which is pretty much everything that exists on the planet, will do well. Here we got a grumpy bear called Spring Stinks. That's very interesting, and again, that reminds me of Sammy the Scrooge Bug, who I did want to slap the red right off of. That's same thing with that bear. But Tiny T-Rex here, and the Perfect Valentine. So again, Valentine's books are very hot, and if you don't have one yet, I probably wouldn't worry too much about it. But next year, and when next year does roll around, you should worry about having that. Here's a Hello New Year, which I think is great. So at this point, it's too late to have a Hello New Year book, but for next year, I would definitely put this on the list and start thinking about books for New Year. And there's also, like Christmas and like Hanukkah, if you think about New Year, there's other New Years that other people celebrate, like Chinese New Year. So I might even create a Chinese New Year book to specifically target people that celebrate the Chinese New Year. And there's a lot of them because there's no bigger population on the planet than the Chinese. So a Chinese New Year book would certainly do extremely well. I'm surprised that I haven't seen one done here yet that is not on the countdown, but that pretty much wraps it up. We've hit quite a few categories and we found quite a few books. I even lost track. However, there was a lot of really, really good ideas, and I hope one of you takes me up on one of the ideas that I come up with, particularly the urinating, farting, and turd dropping animals of the world. I think that would be epic. I would even buy that. I would even show it on this channel. And if any of you brilliant artists out there do that, let me know. I would love to talk about it some more. So other than that, let me know your questions in the comments below. I always personally answer them, and I'll see you in the next video.